The Greeks once believed that evil people rose from their graves at night to haunt the living. To chase them away, locals carved lanterns and went to cemeteries howling like wolves. Forget trick-or-treating. That's real hardcore Halloween energy. This is the Greek Halloween you've never heard of. Welcome to Not Another Greek History Podcast, the podcast that aims to be exactly what it says. I'm your host, Onouphrios Dovletis, and together we'll discover the not-so-frequently told stories of Greece's history that will change the way you view things forever. So no, the Irish didn't invent everything spooky, because long before Stingy Jack fooled the devil, Greeks were already out there lighting pumpkins, or whatever they had anyway, and trying not to get bitten by ghost dogs. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, American kids dress up, knock on doors, and shout trick or treat, collecting mountains of candy. Halloween is celebrated obviously across the English-speaking world on October 31st. And now, honestly, in many places around the world, even in Greece, some folks throw Halloween parties, put on scary makeup, and pretend they know what they're celebrating. In this case, you would tell people to mock them. Did you have that in your village? Of course, this refers to the majority of the Greeks actually coming from villages not being city people. Supermarkets in Greece jumped on in fast. Pumpkin decorations, of course, fake cobwebs, ghost cupcakes. Before you know it, they'll be selling Italian panettone for Christmas then. If there's profit to be made, they're on it. And we're all guilty of buying it. Everything has become way too commercial. Now, Americans do have their own version of Carnival in certain regions, like New Orleans, or however you pronounce it. People tell me different versions every time. But since most of the country is Protestant, Halloween became their one official chance to wear costumes. And yes, sometimes togas, which we've always seen in movies and TV shows, because apparently ancient Greece is still the ultimate costume fantasy. Maybe, I don't know. Despite that, I keep telling people, the ancient Greeks loved getting undressed, not dressed. Historically, Halloween came from the ancient Celtic festival, Samhain, which is actually spelled Samhain, so Samhain, and it marked the end of harvest and the start of winter. That's why pumpkins rule the celebration. They're the last crop before the cold. Irish immigrants brought it to America, obviously in the 19th century. The name Halloween comes from All Hallow Even, the night before All Saints' Day. There was an All Souls' Day as far back as the 4th century, but that one was in spring. Keep that in mind. And in Latin America, Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, was already a thing. Originally celebrated in summer, it moved to fall to match the end of the corn harvest. So it has a connection to Halloween. The pumpkin's fame exploded thanks to Hollywood. So in 1978,
and to perform the functions of my office conscientiously, that's okay, and the best of my ability. Conscientiously.
We'll get it right.
So in 1978, John Carpenter released Halloween, or as it was called in Greece, The Night of the Masks. When we still translated titles of foreign movies, because obviously 50 years ago, Halloween was something completely unknown in Greece. That little horror film, which cost roughly $300,000, made $70 million and spawned 13 sequels over 44 years. Basically, one every 3 years, a ritual of its own, practically. Michael Myers, with his white mask and kitchen knife, became a pop culture icon, obviously, as you know. And if you've seen the statue of the Critios bullet at the Acropolis Museum, and that's why I'm telling you now about this, you might notice something similar. Pale face, empty eyes, creepy calm. Maybe the first Marvel slasher villain in history, or maybe not. But it's funny how all those killers, Michael Myers, Jason, and Friday the 13th, Ghostface, and Scream, wear white masks, right? But here's the twist. Greece already had its own Day of the Dead. It's just not commercialized. No candy, no costumes, no horror films. It's called Psychosavato, Soul Saturday. If you read this word, Psychosavato, in English, it sounds like Psycho Sabbath. I'm sure that any metal fan listening right now would be thinking, that's a very cool name for a band. Technically, every Saturday in Orthodoxy is for the dead, but two are the ones that stand out. So we have Apokrius, Lent, and Pentecost, which are basically three acts of the same Greek drama: food, fasting, and fireworks. So, food, fasting, fireworks, FFF. Spiritual ones, but fireworks. Bear with me. First comes Apokrius, which is the Greek carnival. Let's say it takes place months after Halloween, so it's not in any way an equivalent. The name literally means away from meat. It's the big party before the fasting begins. Fasting for Lent. So then comes Lent, Sarakosti in Greek. 40 days of no meat, no dairy, and no fun food. It's the quiet, reflective period that prepares you for Easter. And then 50 days after Easter, you get Pentecost, Pentikosti in Greek. Literally, it means 50th, the 50th day. Pentikosti. It's when the Holy Spirit descends upon the apostles, sort of the grand finale, let's say, of the Easter season. Now, here's the cool link with Psychosavato, the Soul Saturday. The first big Soul Saturday actually falls right before Carnival Sunday at the end of Apokrius. Interesting how one sits right next to a costume festival. It's all tied to the cycle of nature, rebirth, return of life. Just like in Greek mythology, when Persephone rises from the underworld and the world blooms again. Death and resurrection, darkness and light. In ancient Athens, there was a festival called Anthesteria. It happened every year around February, the time when the first new wine was opened. So it was a celebration of Dionysus, the god of wine and rebirth, but it wasn't just a party. It was also a time when the world of the dead opened up. For 3 days, Athens turned upside down. On the first day, everyone opened their wine jars. So the day was called Pythia, from the word pithos, which is one of the words for big jug. The second day was called Hoes, from one of the words that means spill, or to offer something liquid, practically. They drank in silence, no joke, no toasts, and that is because the souls of the dead were believed to be roaming the streets, joining the living in their homes. The festival even ended with a chilling shout that everyone knew by heart: Exokires, uket Anthesteria, which means, out you go, spirits, the Anthesteria is over. The final day, called Hitri, was all about feeding the dead. So people cooked pots of grain and honey. So the word hitra is the word for pot, and left them out as offerings, just like the kaliva that modern Greeks still make today for memorials. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? A season when the veil between worlds thins, when the living remember the dead, feed them, and then send them back. That's the same emotional pattern we see later in All Souls Day, All Hallows Eve, and the European fall customs that became Halloween. So before there were carved pumpkins and spooky costumes, there were wine jars, cooked grains, and Dionysus, the god who connected life, death, and rebirth. The Greeks were already living the rhythm of Halloween, let's say centuries before it had a name. As we go full circle now, let me tell you a little more about this Greek custom that I mentioned in the very beginning. The Greeks from the modern day Black Sea region, an area that we call in Greek Pondos, meaning sea, believed that dead Turks, or evil people in general, rose from their graves at night as dogs to terrorize the living. These Muslim vampires were called hortlaki. There was even a curse involving this, na hortalevs kevshimnamidis, meaning, may you turn into a vampire and never find peace. So yes, even in death, as you can see in this case, the Greeks still feared the Turks. A fine example of that harmonious coexistence that history books so much love to propagate. But the Pontian Greeks took it to another level. They carved lanterns, just like the Irish, so they used light and went to cemeteries at night, howling like wolves to scare the spirits away. That is some serious Halloween shit here. Now, was it coincidence or influence? Who borrowed from whom? Maybe just a coincidence. But anyway, I think it's fascinating that both traditions connect death, night, and firelight. And I'm sure there must be more traditions like this around the world, or there must have been throughout time that maybe we're never going to know about. Americans actually own Halloween. It's their festival, their spooky harvest, their movie marathon. And Europeans ironically copied, thinking that they're keeping some ancient tradition alive. If only we were that passionate about our own traditions. So next time you're in Greece and you see Halloween decorations, ask people, did you have that in your village? In this case, actually yes. But they don't even know it. But you do. So tell me now, who needs pumpkins when your ancestors were already howling at cemeteries with lanterns? What's scarier, Michael Myers or your yaya whispering "Nahortalevs kepshin mamidis"? Did ancient Athens basically throw the first Halloween party, minus the candy and plus the wine? And be honest, next Halloween, are you dressing as a vampire or undressing as Dionysus coming back from the underworld? If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share. Until next time, this is Onoufiros Dovletis signing off from Not Another Greek History Podcast.